Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co host, Mino, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast, folks. We just got done with episode 3 last week, talking about how to deal with loss. If you missed that, please go ahead and go check that out.
Absolutely.
It's been a long week,
Yeah, a
yeah?
little bit.
Been a long,
A
rough
little
week.
bit, man, a little bit. And again, I want to thank everybody for the support. On the podcast I reviewed during episode 2, I found out I lost my great grandmother. And so, I talked about that on the Dealing with Loss podcast on episode 3. So I just want to thank you again for everybody, for all the love and all the support. Because, again, we all know what it's like to, lose a loved one. So I just really, again, want to thank you for all the love and support out there. That's kind of what this community is about. We're here to encourage and inform you, but believe me, we receive just as much um, from you all. So appreciate that.
And we're here to build each other up. So, well, yeah, man, it's been a rough week for you, rough week for myself. I've been dealing with a lot of random anxiety attacks this past couple of days, especially this morning. Waking up, waking up to an anxiety attack is not
Nah.
fun. uh, yeah, waking up kind of, you're waking up. Everyone knows what it's like to wake up abruptly and just be like, "Oh man, what's going on? Where am I at? What's going
Be a little
on?"
foggy.
Yeah, and straight up, my heart was pounding. Felt like it was going 1,000 miles per hour. I was kind of dazed, confused, looking around my room, like, what time it's, what time is it? Like, how long I've been asleep for. And I tried to get up and just everything just didn't feel right, man. I felt like something was wrong. I felt weak, like I couldn't breathe. Um, yeah, just getting up and walking to the kitchen to get a glass of water, I like I had to take a deep breath and everything. And when I did, kind of felt like when I was exhaling, I felt like my spirit was trying to leave my
Oh,
body,
man. Ooh.
like just like weakness, and and that triggered even more anxiety. So I had to gather myself, and before it turned into a full-on panic attack, because I could start to
Hmm.
feel it coming. You really feel it, and because your mind starts racing, and you're thinking you're moving around, but I was just standing in the kitchen, like in the middle of the kitchen, just looking into nothing, because my mind was racing. So I kind of quickly snapped out of it and came back in my room, kind of laid down and tried to fall back asleep, which I couldn't. But just taking a couple deep breaths, and try to calm myself, calm my
Hmm.
thoughts, kind of slow my heart rate down and everything like
Do
that.
what you knew
So
to do.
that kind of helped. Exactly. And just going through my steps, like, hey, I'm in my house. It's in the morning. Just got up. Let's get up and move. Let's do our morning stretches and stuff. Get up and get my body moving, and start focusing on that task. And it slowly went away, and it just kind of
Hmm.
lingered afterwards. And anyone that's had a full-on anxiety panic
Yeah,
attack,
you don't just get over it.
you know that feeling after it's done. When it's done, you get that exhausted feeling,
Mm.
and kind of just tired, man. And I took a nap. Well, I took a nap, and felt a little bit better as the days went on. But it just got me thinking about just how anxiety just comes out of nowhere for no
Hmm.
reason. You could just be enjoying your day,
On a
and
random
it
Tuesday.
just comes up exactly, and just kind of throws you off your game. So, and it just got me thinking today about how many times this has happened since I've been dealing with anxiety. And to be honest, it happens every day.
Oh, that's deep, bro. You said it
And
happens every day.
yeah,
You're like the Hulk. I'm always angry. You know.
right. And I was thinking even early today. I was like, you know, I was just thinking. I put it on my Facebook today. Like, anxiety makes you really feel down about stuff, or whatever.
you did.
Just once you get in a
You
cycle.
did post something. You said I'm a happy personality with a sad soul or something like that.
Yeah. It's like I just have a happy ass personality with
I
a
was
sad
like,
soul.
again, I saw that right before we started filming this. I'm like, dang, okay, bro. You're getting
and
deep in your old age and wisdom. And speaking of which, before this show goes any further, we have to give a very special birthday shout out to my co-host Mino. His birthday was this weekend.
Oh,
Again,
yeah, yeah.
amongst all the other things, you see how deep it is.
Whoop, whoop.
You feel what I'm saying? You got to bring yourself back. Have some people remind you, to celebrate your life as
Yeah.
well while you're going through these things, man. So happy birthday to you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, man. Just like I said, I leveled up. Another level
Yeah.
gain, man. For all my gamers
Mhm.
out there, leveled up, baby.
Nice.
But yeah, man.
Nice.
And it's just it's just a weird feeling, when you get older. You just get more wiser too. You just think of things that I used to enjoy 10 years ago. It's like, would I still be doing? No, I can't even imagine
Yeah,
doing
you
that
can, and
now.
you grow out
Like,
of some things. A lot of things really do have their time, have their season. That's
yeah,
real.
because I was thinking, like, man, it's only 8 o'clock right now, and I'm kind of tired. Like, I'm ready to wind down. Back then, 10 years ago, we were just getting off work. I'm just getting ready to go to the
Hmm.
gym, go out, have a drink or something, whatever. Enjoy the night. Nowadays, 9 o'clock, I'm ready to just go on my YouTube on my phone and go to sleep.
Them eyelids be getting heavy. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. No, that.
It's like, oh
See, I'm not
no.
quite there yet. All right, maybe you're just a couple years older than me. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna take these extra couple years where I can night owl it a little bit, um, but no, you got to make certain adjustments. And what's wild too is I was talking to my cousins about this, how time passes faster as you get older. You know, that's why
Hmm.
again, when you're young, you remember
Yeah.
how like a day used to seem like forever. That's why everything was such a big
Yes.
venture. Thinking about again just being in my great grandmother's house, my OG's house,
Hmm.
and how I used to think that place was so big because it was like a duplex, with the basement level too. So
Yo,
exactly, so I used to be
for
going up and
real.
down the stairs, through the different levels and stuff like that. And now I'm over there, man. The place is little. But at the time,
Yeah.
that's how we had the biggest house in the world. So
Dude, it does. It be like that because, like, I was just talking to my cousin and I went over to his house a couple of days ago and we're just chilling in the second, like, the back living room. There's two living rooms and we're in the second one towards the back of the house.
hmm
And we're sitting there and, like, man, I could barely fit anybody back here. Me and him just sitting next to each other. I was like, yeah. And we're like, you remember we played football in this room?
I'm trying to tell
Dude, I could have swore it was bigger. I could have swore the room was bigger than this. Cause there's no way. There's no way. I lay down, I'm already touching the water wall. How we play football in here? And everything, it's just, man, good
Yeah,
days, good days.
absolutely. And so to think about too as well when you see like your grandparents. My grandmother was 94 before she passed. That's why you could see them like once a year, really, and it'd be like they just saw you, or like a couple times a year, because that year passed really fast for them. They've had a lot of days. They've had days pass really quickly. When you're older, um, and so it's just something you can start to tangibly notice. I think. Like, wow, man, time never used to pass this fast. We used to pray, for that, the clock to, speed up, and, you know, um,
Yeah.
summer used to seem like a long time. When you're out of school for the summer, man, it seemed like you do, go on adventures, do stuff, a bunch of things. Now, whew, I'm like, what happened? We had a summer.
Right. And I mean, you're just thinking back, when you reminisce, like, that's just me in person. I think that's is the reason why I deal with anxiety because I think a
Hmm.
lot. I'm a deep thinker. I'm always reminiscing about something or thinking about the future. And like, I was thinking just how you were just saying when you're a kid, all you want to do is time to go fast so you can grow up,
Boy,
be an adult. Now we want the time to go backwards or at least slow
slow
down.
down.
Like, I felt like I just turned 30 like a year ago. I'm not 30 no more. So I'm 36 now. And it's like, yo, like, what, it gets faster and faster when
No,
you get
it's
older.
true, man.
And it's
I
like,
feel the same way, man. I'm like, yo, I was just like, 27, 28. I remember turning 30. I remember exactly how I felt. And now, 3 years later, I'm 33. I'm the same age as Jesus. I'm like, wait a minute, how did that happen? You know, how did these Junes, speed up? And I think again, the pandemic. I swear, man, it's like you lose a year, because even people I thought were graduating, like people that I knew, younger people. I thought I could have swore they had like another year, in college, like before they were graduating, or graduating this fall. So yeah, man, I think what you were saying, that being so much reminiscing in the past, and replaying things in the past, and then always thinking in the future, we really do forget to be present. That's the
yeah,
struggle, to be grounded, to be actually here in the moment and enjoying the moment. Because I'm the same way, being that I guess I studied rhetoric and language and speech and stuff. I really do think about conversations. I replay conversations in my head a lot. That I've had with people. What would I say next time? What would I do, differently? Okay, that tone and such. It's really something I play. Like, but I probably spent entirely too much time in the past because of that, or not as present as I need to be.
And it's hard to be present, especially when you have a lot of time. For me, I remember I was just thinking like for people with anxiety, I feel like at least in my experience, it's almost kind of like I brought it on myself because I'm always curious. I'm always thinking about something. And anxiety it takes your thoughts and makes you run with it. But I'm so used to doing that even as a kid. There'll be times when like to be in the moment. I was a big soccer player, and let's just say in the middle of the game, it's a tight one, and another team's coming down on a breakaway. I'm the goalie, so I have to make this save if we're gonna win. And I would see the play happen, but then my mind would think about, okay, this is what's gonna happen if I don't save it, if I do save it. But what happens if this happens and this, just not even thinking about
In a high pressure position,
what's
you're the
actually
goalie,
happening.
you're right.
Yeah. And then out of back, I would snap out of it, and it's like, okay, like just be in the moment then. But then it's like I think too much about the outcome. Even when it's going on, I'm not really focused on what's actually in front of me, and that has, you know, made me lose games before for my teams because I was just thinking too much of the outcome, not really reacting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, too much thinking, not reacting
Yep.
enough, and it's always happened to me at random times, and I think it stemmed from that because my thought process is just it's crazy. I think way too much, and I end up overthinking myself too. And then you get anxiety from that because you're like, oh, I'm
Then all
overthinking. I
the
can't
missed
stop. Now my
opportunities.
mind's,
Oh man, if I'd have just, I had that. Oh, I knew that.
yeah,
Things like that. And so I think a lot of times, like you
yeah,
mentioned, sports, we get trained. Like that's why we go through so much practice and training. Even like military, they want to train you. Put you under stress and train you so that you just react, so that you're not thinking. Because you have to be able to tap into that. Kind of I guess maybe fight or flight. Where your adrenaline kicks in, and so you kind of stop your digestion and all that other stuff, and all the blood is going to your extremities, and you're real focused in that moment. And we have to be able to do that, from time to time. But that inability to do it, just like being like staying in that constant state, of stress, being ready. Dude's coming down with the ball, about to kick it, and you gotta, get in your stance and be ready. But if you're always in that stance, like that ready stance, but the ball never gets kicked, like if anybody's ever played defense of any kind, and you're just sitting there, sitting in the chair, so to speak, as they say, you really can't do that. It's like sitting in the starting blocks for, if you're a sprinter. They say set, and your
yeah.
body goes up, and you're on your fingertips. I don't care how good a condition you are, man. If they never say go, you're just tensed up like that. You know,
Oh, you
yeah,
ran track,
exactly.
don't
I
you?
know. Like, yo, man, even holding that for a
Ah,
little
that's
while,
right. I
yo,
remember.
imagine like your body. Again, it's good to be in that mode at the time so you can explode, but just being in that constant state of stress, it's only supposed to be for a little bit amount of time. You know, and so, but now the opposite of that. What if you can't kick that stress in at the time? When it's needed. As well. So, um, no, it's interesting. Again, you brought it to the sports thing, especially being a goalie. That last line of defense, it's coming. You got this thing you got to do, and to be able to turn off your brain and just react. Not so deep, not so easy for everybody.
Yeah, man, I mean, it's crazy. I remember the first time like I had just I guess you say a crazy thought process moment going on, and it was just like you don't think about it as much when you're younger. It just what the hell was that? Oh well, whatever.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people, now people's natural reaction when they like start it or whatever is just to laugh at themselves, right?
Yeah, laugh it off, walk
Not
it
me.
off.
I was like,
As they say.
yeah. Me, I was like, no, I gotta figure out why I did that. What happened? Am I going crazy? Am I dumb? Like just all that, just to figure out why the hell did I stutter or felt a certain way on a random thing that didn't make sense to me at the time. And I would like dive deep in there within like 5-10 seconds. It's like I'm just thinking of that.
And what's
And
crazy
it's
is you're talking about a time when we were younger too. Like this is early 2000s. Doing this stuff. Middle school, high school. We weren't thinking about sports psychologists. Now that's a thing. A sports psychologist. Really evaluating the mindset. As we said, previous episodes, even athletes themselves making their mental health a priority as part of it. But we weren't thinking it like that back then. That was not. It was especially for kids. You know,
And
we
yeah,
definitely weren't taking youth mental health seriously, and so hopefully we can be part of the movement that change that. But
another thing that we're just gonna share a lot because I have a lot of experiences. Obviously, that's why we're here. To share our stories. Like going taking it in a little different direction. You remember your first time getting high?
I remember the first time I ever got high. Yeah, man. I was what 16, something before my like junior year. So yeah, that
Mm.
was for a lot of people that's late to the
How was
party.
that
I
experience?
didn't. I don't even think anything really happened. It was one of them experiences like nothing even happened to me that first time actually. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
really?
like I was just like chilling, like exactly. Now the second time again happened, a couple months later. Like I said, my junior year of high school. Now then I was like, okay, I see what's going on now. Like I see what people were talking about. You know, and at
I think,
16, it was
to be
definitely a lot
honest,
to experience. I was like, I think I'm good for a while.
I think this is the start of my anxiety was when I first got
Really?
high.
Dang.
Yeah. So
How
for
old were
me,
you?
so p- people that know me will know this story. I was about
Oh,
14,
okay.
14, 15. It was after school. We got out of school and we always had someone's house that we'd go to. It was the house that we went to after school, and everyone was just there kicking it, chilling. So it was the I guess you say the party house. And a couple houses down was another buddy of mine, and I guess a separate group of friends. And he was
Okay, and I
smoking.
guess it's important to note we're
He
talking
was
about
get,
not like narcotics, man. We're not talking about like this
yeah,
hard
yeah,
stuff.
it's good old
You know what I'm
good old
saying? Like it's
marijuana,
legal, a lot of places now. So
the legal stuff.
and nobody's dying.
And
Nobody died. All right, that's about life around here.
and and he was you know breaking down his weed in the garage, and he's like, "Hey, you ever smoke?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." 'Cause at this time, I was a soccer player,
Yeah, we're
trying to
athletes, bro. I was on the
trying to
football team,
make it.
track team. That's what we was doing. Like, I feel you.
And that was his brother in the garage, his older brother in the garage, breaking down and was asking me, and he goes, "Come on, man, just you never tried before. Trust me, you feel good." I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good." And he's like, "Man, stop being a little punk." I'm like, "Hey, all right, fine, whatever."
Peer
So
pressure.
we go. So he hurried up and rolled up his weed, and we went into the backyard of the shed, and there's a shed. Mind you, this is winter. It's cold as hell. So it's me, my friend, and his brother. And he's like, just smoke it like a cigarette. I'm like,
Oh, sick.
I
I'm
smoke
14, bro. Like,
cigarettes.
what you talking about?
Like, he's like, oh, and then it's like, here, just take it, and then the whole thing. So I'm like, so I was like, all right. So I did. I'm like, so I coughed. I didn't know what I was doing a lot.
Yeah, man.
And I kid you not, we were back in the shed for about 10, 15 minutes, and I guess I've been his weed a good amount of times to the point where my throat was hurting real bad,
On
right?
fire, I know.
And they're both looking at me, like smiling. I'm like, what you guys smiling at? Like I feel nothing. My throat just hurts. He's like, oh, just wait till you go inside. I'm like, sure, whatever. So I'm not thinking anything. We go back inside and it's warm. As I walk down the steps to the basement, my vision
Mm,
kind of looked like strobe like effect type of thing.
mm-hmm.
And I kind of leaned on the wall. I'm like, whoa.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, why y'all pushing me?
Chill out, man.
You're like, what? You're like, what you mean? And like, whatever. So I walked in. I'm sitting on the ground, and in the middle of the living room. So we're gonna play some video games.
Of course, video
I'm
games.
looking at the screen.
Standard.
I'm looking at the screen. And I kept falling backwards. I'm like, yo, I can't sit up straight.
Just sitting on the floor, just boom,
So I was like,
falling back.
yeah, just leaning back. And then I'm like, so next thing I know, I'm kind of leaning on my side now, up, holding myself up by my elbow. And they start turning on the music. So the music was like, I felt like it was right in my ears, man. Like it was loud, but it was chill. Then I felt my face getting heavy. I I started to thinking like, yo, why is my face heavy? My words starting to get slurred.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Your face heavy is tight. Your
And
face started get feeling real tight.
yeah, and his brother's sitting across the room, and I see him right, and he said something to me, but his voice sounded like he was right in my ear, but he was so far away. I'm like, why are you? I was like, why are you yelling? He's like, dude, you're high. I'm
Wow,
like,
you hollering.
nah, man, yeah, you yelling in my ear, dude, like you whispering to me, like why? And then I looked at my other friend. I was like, yo, what time is it? Mind you, we get out of school at like 2:30, and it's only like 2:45.
Man.
So, and I was like, yo, what time is it? I gotta go home, man. My mom's gonna kill me. La da da. Like, nah, chill. It's only been 15 minutes. I'm like, nah, man. I swear, it's like 7, 8 o'clock, but I haven't been home. Like, I gotta go home. And then he's like, yo, you tripping? Like, I kept telling him, yo, please take me home, man. I don't feel good. I don't feel good. La da. I get home expecting no one to be home. It's 3 o'clock, and he only lived like down the street from me. All of a sudden, I'm hungry as hell. I'm going through the fridge. I'm making this bomb sandwich.
All the stereotypes
It was
you're
like-
just fulfilling
it was-
right now. Every
yeah.
cliche.
Yeah. And it was big, like a big juicy sandwich. I made it. And then my stepdad comes home. And he's in the kitchen with me. I'm sitting on the table. He sits down. He's eating his food. And he's just looking at me. And I realize that I've been holding my sandwich in a position like I'm going to take this bite for a couple minutes. Without
See, you just holding it.
I'm just holding it like I'm about to get this
Oh, man.
big bite on. And he goes, you okay? And I just looked at him and put the sandwich down and walked to my room, fell face first on my bed, and I don't wake up until the next morning.
See,
for
this is
school.
why this should be 18 plus. Again, see? No, minors, this is a warning, people. We are not condoning said activity. It was too young for all of this madness, as you see.
So, and here's the thing here's why my anxiety started. I woke up the next morning still
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I was freaking out. I was like, yo.
Foggy.
So, I was like, I hurried up and got dressed and walked to the bus stop. I got on the bus and I felt like everyone's looking at me. And I was like, man. So we get to the locker room area, where all my boys are. So I go up to him and I say, man, yo, man, you messed me up, bro. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, whatever y'all gave me, man, I'm still high from it, man. Like, for real.
We getting too real in here. I know, I get it. It's cool.
And then he's like, yo, you chill, you just, just relax, it'll go away. So I go to the next class, right? And at this point, my heart is pounding. I'm looking around. It's like how it was when I was high.
It's like you're reactivated.
The
Like
classroom, bro. Yeah. And ever since then, bro, I always felt like I was high. Ever since then. And it also triggered something called,
Hold on. You got to break that down. Well, you just said that because I was just kind of joking with the, like the Hulk thing. The secret is I'm always angry. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I know you for a while now. So you mean to tell me you've been walking around high for 10 years, all these years I've known you? That's
it really
deep.
felt like that. I had to get used to it.
That's deep.
Like, it's crazy to think. And then
for
I was like, yo,
somebody too,
something's
again, people
wrong.
don't know, like Mino, like the whole time I've known him as adults, again, we didn't really smoke like that. I don't never, like I said, he was on, his health stuff, was heavy in the gym. And so that's why I'm kind of shocked. I'm like, but it kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't need it. There you go. You was already there. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like, it made me, feel a certain way where I didn't really know what was going on. I was always having these anxiety attack moments. I didn't know that it was anxiety attack moments back then. I just thought I was about to die. Like, something happened. Like, why is my heart beating so fast? I'm not doing
Elizabeth,
nothing,
I'm coming to
I was
join
in good
you.
shape back then, And I kept, trying to look around and do all this research and trying to explain to people, like, how I was feeling. And no one just said,
Yeah, they couldn't get it. Like,
dude, chill. Like, because I didn't even know.
exactly. You're
anxiety at
14.
some points.
How you supposed to know? Like,
And I had to just forget about it pretty much. Like, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to explain what it was. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just when you turn a teenager, your mind just feels
this is
different.
the mind puberty.
Because they talk about, yeah. So I was like, maybe that's I'm just getting older. Maybe that's just what it feels like to be old. You don't feel things as much, like. And so I just kept with it. And then sometimes it'll get real bad to the point where I would feel like I was going crazy, and I didn't know who the hell I need to talk to. So it just kept going and going all these years, even to the point where I figured out I had anxiety and learned how to cope with that. I still didn't know what this other
No, that's
thing
deep
was.
what you just said though. I just thought, hey, maybe this is part of growing up. You don't feel as much. That's deep. Like what you just
Uh,
said. Like, you thought maybe, well, I'm just getting, less emotional. There's a part of me that's numbed out or whatever. But maybe that's just a part of growing up. Like that kind of
yeah.
like sets the table for, you know, what we really think it means to be an adult and like what we're, the next steps. What does that really mean? You feel less.
I mean, you think about it, that's just kind of true.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's what I'm saying. It
Like,
was deep when you just said that. I had to bring it back. I'm like, wow, I never thought of it like that. But I guess especially as a guy being macho, is you feel less. What's that like that real big book that people that self help book by the Michael Goggins? You can't hurt me. You know
I don't know.
that's yeah
Never
yeah.
heard
It's
that.
it's a real
I'm
big
gonna have to look at
bestseller.
that.
But he was like a Marine guy, lost a lot of weight, does a lot of did a lot of extreme things physically, and it's about that really overcoming your mind over matter to the extremists. So yeah, the idea again, think about okay, maybe this is part of growing up. I just don't feel as much anymore. You know, I'm not that same.
And it's just,
You know,
and it's it's just crazy because it's like it's just been so long for me to figure out like what it is. This other thing that's other than anxiety, but it's similar. And I found out just a couple years ago that it's called depersonalization.
okay, okay. You
And
mentioned you
yeah,
were gonna you mentioned last show that you were gonna bring this up. Yeah, depersonalization.
yeah. And depersonalization is pretty much it's like a dissociation disorder. So depersonalization is like a specifically is like a sense of detachment from yourself,
Okay,
pretty
like an
much.
out of body
You know,
experience. They say. Yeah.
yeah, kind of. And reading up on that and doing my own research, trying to figure it out, and talking to my therapist about it. And like, yeah, she didn't even really know how to explain it either, except to explain it what anxiety is. So I'm like, well, that doesn't really help if there's something here and it's not anxiety. What is it? So they pretty much go hand in hand. There's like, if you have a bad anxiety attack, it can enhance the feeling of that depersonalization. So you're kind of like stuck in a dream state, not necessarily like a straight out of body experience, but it feels like it. You just feel you don't feel that warmth of feeling of a certain sensation. You don't feel that feeling.
Like that warmth of your
So and
own
that's
body,
what
you don't even feel it. Like,
yeah
huh?
yeah. It's a weird feeling. Like it's like being high without being high in a bad way. Like you don't enjoy this because it's
It's
all the
not Red
time.
Man and Method
It's like
Man, talking to their homie, you know. No, it's not the movies. It's not How High. That doesn't sound fun. Like you said, you can't feel yourself. You can't feel your own warmth. Like you're really like, man.
yeah, and it's like, and it took me years. I was the first time I felt that feeling when I read up on depersonalization. Every single thing that it was saying, it was exactly how I felt when I first experienced something like this. That it triggered my anxiety and pretty much enhanced all my anxiety attacks and everything like that because of this. And I remember I was 14 at home in the basement in the family computer on AIM, talking and
Aim
chatting away with
brought it
friends.
back.
Good old
Yep,
AIM.
aim, boy.
What's your screamer tag? What's your screen name? And yeah, I was just chatting away, and I remember I backed up from my computer because my cousin wanted to check something. I stood up, and I kind of stood there because I felt like, yo, didn't I just back up and stood up? I felt like I did that motion before,
Mm.
and then my anxiety went full on panic attack. Like it's like I already moved. Why am I seeing the movement now? Like that type of feeling, and it freaked me the hell out. I remember like I was straight up felt loss of breath, like dizzy. I fell to my knees because, yo, you okay? I'm like, yo, it's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like, I started to freak out. And he's like, "Yo, do you need?" I'm like, "Dude, I can't. I feel like I can't breathe." Like, I was like reaching out to him, like trying to grab him to see if he was real. Like, it was just crazy. And then it went away for like 5 minutes, and then I just felt this disarray. Like I was high again. Like the anxiety now, it's just lingering after that. I'm like, "What was that, dude?" Like, and ever since then, it's be one or the other that I would feel. So one might be a little more tense this day, and that'll go away. Some days you'll catch me, and I'm both are going on at the same time, but not as intense. And then some days you'll catch me where I'm completely fine, and I'm just me, whatever. But
It's
it's
not, you
like,
can't predict it
yo,
though, right? Yes, that's the
yeah,
thing.
it just happens. And I've, as I got older now, since now, I realize when I have a lot of downtime and my mind is not occupied on something,
Ooh,
my brain will wander.
okay.
It will just wander. And when it wanders, which is fine, everyone does it, like daydream and all that, except me. For people with anxiety, knows what I'm talking about. That downtime, you think of one thing, all of a sudden it starts to
Yeah, your
snowball.
daydreams ain't pleasant.
Slowly
Yeah,
turns, yeah, it turns slowly turns negative. And next thing you know, you're feeling down. Next thing you know, you're feeling your doubt, self doubt comes in. You're like, damn, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing something else. And you get down on yourself. You're stuck in this thought process. But then again, it's just all in your head. And you might be with friends while this is going on, and then now you're in a bad mood, and now they're picking on you.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
friends do. They'll
What's
pick on
going
you,
on,
crack
man?
jokes on
Look
you.
like you just lost your best
It
friend.
don't help.
You know.
Yep, and it don't help. But what do? You go, oh no, I'm good, I'm good. Let's. But inside you're like, damn, like he just made fun of me. Now you're thinking about why your friend said that. Do they mean that, or are they lying?
When it could
To
just
you?
be like
This and now
they
that
wanted to break the
snowballs.
silence or just mess with you to get you to engage, like a normal thing. But again, if you're not that that condition will cause you to take it a negative spin on it. That's why you said like that's interesting. You said daydreaming for you, it ain't the same like it's for other people. We think of daydream, we just wandered off somewhere, um, but we don't necessarily think about wandering off into the street and getting hit by a bus. You know, like that's that's like a different level where you really have to monitor your thoughts, constantly. So, how long did it take you kind of figure that part out that it was like, when you had idle time, when you the more time you had on your hands, that's what you needed to watch out for. Like, how long did you take to figure that out?
To be honest, a couple years.
Okay, that's I asked that for a reason because I'm like I know some people going to hear, and like you've been on this journey like we're starting at 14, and now you're 36, and so again everything comes in its own time. So um, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm like hey like sometimes you can just be figuring out something that you may have wished you wanted you knew earlier it would have helped you out, but it kind of getting over the guilt of that. Hey man, you get to it when you get to it, and I think as you mentioned, this is oftentimes really not um, this depersonalization is kind of passed off as just anxiety or like just regular anxiety. So it's not like you had a whole lot of help in diagnosing yourself in these things either. If people are kind of dismissing or not understanding the full scope of what you're describing.
And it's tough too because if you yourself don't know how to explain it, it makes it even worse because you can't put in the words or a description of what you feel for someone to understand it if you don't understand it and you don't know the words to say it. Like, and your anxiety gets worse because of that because it's like now no one can help you because you don't even know
You
how
don't
to
know how to
explain
ask for
yourself.
the help, like
So
yeah.
yeah, so what do you do? And like I literally did what someone with anxiety shouldn't do. Just Google every
Hmm.
single symptom, which I'm sure a lot of you have. You're like, oh, my left arm hurts. What is that? You go on Google, it's like, oh, it's gonna tell you it's a heart, and you're having a
Yeah,
stroke. You're
I
gonna have a
remember
heart attack.
when
It's cancer.
WebMD kind of first came out, so advertising, everybody, I think there's a lot of
I mean, it's cool to
misdiagnosis.
look certain things up. Yeah, it's cool to look up certain things, but with someone like, if you really need to find that information, just see a doc.
Hmm.
Go see a doctor. Like for me, it took years. Like I said, man, half of my life I've been dealing with anxiety and depression, A lot of mental health issues that I didn't address until my late 20s. And I just kept thinking, what if I would have taken care of this when I was my 15? Could I have been more achieved more? Wish I could have done more, enjoyed my life a little more. You know, like those are opportunities I think about, but I won't dwell on it because it's happened, it's done, and you can't change it. So you just have to accept, what happened has happened. You just gotta focus on now and what you can do.
Yeah. And not for nothing, like again, like I said, when we were growing up, we were kids in the early 2000s. Nobody was really talking about again mental health. Um, you know, these things, and I'm gonna just keep it real. We was in Minnesota, and we would literally like again, it's a very toxic, and dismissive thing that we have as part of communities of color. Like we just dismiss that as white people stuff. You know, oh, they going through it. That's white people stuff. Even self deletion. Suicidal thoughts. We were always thinking that that was something, for other people to deal with, and so I don't even know if I would have felt comfortable, you know, reaching out, especially at that young of an age, 14, 15, 16. And especially if you think, it started doing maybe something you wasn't supposed to be doing, that young. How do you
Hmm.
even explain or begin to tell them, hey, mom and dad, tried some marijuana for the first time, and now I think I've, lost my mind. Like that's not good.
Yep.
In addition to you not being taken seriously, you probably gonna get a beating, you know. So, you know,
Hmm.
um, so again, that's why we want to
And
use this platform to get put that out there. Like, hey, this stuff we could have used this when we were young, just like we could. The non-melanated could use it. Yeah, we could as well, because I think we're starting to suffer. We're starting to see the impact, and kind of that demographic gap, is closing.
when they say
It's one gap we don't want to
mental
be closing,
mental
honestly,
health
but it
issues,
is.
they say mental health issues is at an all
Yeah,
time high. Why?
absolutely.
Why do you think that is? Like, why now is it more out in the public eye? Do you think that is? I mean, I have my own theories, but I just think because when we were younger, it maybe wasn't around as much for the general you know, people, just because there were things to do. I guess you could say parks. Kids can go out and play at the
Well,
parks,
you know
be
what? That's
outside,
part
play
of it. I would say,
basketball, and
particularly like youth, man. Like, I was just looking up, something called the Congressional Black Caucus's Emergency Task Force on Black Youth Suicide and Mental Health. I looked it up because I, saw, you know, to your point, it's being out there more, and I'm seeing more celebrities talk about it. So I saw Taraji P Henson, you know, um, Academy Award winner. She was in Benjamin Button and Hustle and Flow, and a bunch of other movies. But her father was a Vietnam veteran, and he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), but he never got the help that he needed. It's called the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation, and literally, especially again um, going back to again the Vietnam War and how again there were a lot of black people that were black men that came back from that, and just veterans period that didn't come back right. A lot of homelessness. We see it. We've seen the stereotype, and because they didn't get that mental health. So I think it started like again, it's being brought to the light now. I believe because of technology, but the need has like I think always really been there. And the problem is now is we're more disconnected than ever. So to what you were just bringing up, now we're more connected. I can connect to you. We're doing this podcast, not even in the same state. We're working from home. All these things, technology can. I can interact with a ton of people. I can, see celebrities' lives and stuff like that. Just live vicariously through other people. But I think that what that is doing is causing is pulling people further apart from their actual real relationships. And like they're focusing on everybody else's life so much and outside of themselves and what they don't have. And it's marketed to them like that to sell them stuff. This is all done for a reason, and it'll make you a good consumer, but it's going to do nothing for your self-esteem. It's going to be nothing for your mental health, but continue to make you desire and want more things that you really don't need, but you just see that are out there. And so I think that's really what's bringing it to the forefront is this technology piece that's really disconnected us. As much as it's connected us, it's definitely disconnected us from our actual real lives and relationships that keep us healthy and sane. That's good for our mental
Stop
health. Is
being
relationships, solid
just
relationships. We don't have them as
a
much
lot of
anymore.
people now, and a lot of people are now just living
There
through
you
the
go.
screen, and they're not really being present. Like we see it all the time when we see a live performance. You look out in the crowd and you see
Yeah,
everyone's
they're
just cell
watching.
phones.
Yeah, again, I've caught myself doing
Yeah,
it
they're
too.
watching. They're
Watching the
watching on their
concert
phone.
through the
Yeah,
phone. I'm sitting there. I could actually I should probably look over my phone, but I'm looking at it to make sure like it's steady. So we got.
right.
That's how we used to
But you
be in the
can't help
world.
it. It's just what we do now. Everyone is
Mm,
doing it, and it's just like it's almost like it's a natural reaction to do
absolutely.
that.
And these devices
You
make
know
it easy, man. They have really nice cameras now. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? They pick up really cool
Yeah.
stuff. So it's
Right. No longer you need to hire crazy cameraman to get a good footage. You got your iPhone that can shoot 4K. Like it's just crazy, and it's like it's I don't know. It's just weird because like it's almost we're gonna get scared to interact with people. We're gonna see a human and be like, oh, let me text them
yeah.
instead. Like you see it in movies when they make fun of
Yeah,
it, right?
no.
When two friends
Was
are
it?
standing
Remember
next
that
to each
movie
other and they're
Wally?
texting each other.
The people rolling around on the ship, like
Yeah,
in the
yep,
little
yep, Wally,
couch
yep.
things that are floating around, on the little lazy boys floating
Yeah.
around with a screen in front of their face. Like, Hollywood. They tell
And
us
you
what's
see,
the future, man.
and it's like it's crazy because you even see like people in trouble. They don't longer run up there and help. They pull up their phone and record it.
There you go. Well, yeah,
You
scream
know,
out world
like
star and all of that stuff. That stuff.
world
All of
star,
that stuff. And it really is becoming observant.
entertaining, yeah,
And we're
but it's
so
like
disconnected from people. We don't even, again, associate to go help that person and relate to them. You know. Um, I think that's massive, man. And again, I just spoke about obviously we had a big loss in my family. Families as a result aren't as close as they used to be. I talked about my father's side of the family, organizing, frequent family reunions so we can all catch up to each other. But a lot of families do not do that. A lot of families are, more disconnected than ever. My father always talks about how close him and his cousins were, and them all growing up together, and spending summers together at different uncles and aunts' houses. And again, having smaller families, we don't have as many siblings. Is
it's
yeah,
not like
like where you get that
it's like
in-house
that. It's not like
socialization
that
and
no more.
learn how to get along and share. And
Like even TV shows. Like back in the day, we grew up on Full House, Family Matters. Like shows like that where it's like family values and everything, and family help each other raise each other. Shows like that.
step by
It's not.
step, day by
There's
day.
not many shows like that anymore. you know. And even when I see those shows, even like to compare that to real life, like it's not even like that in real life either. Unfortunately, like it's not a lot of homes where a father cares for their kids.
I mean,
You
I
know,
believe it's just we're so much more splintered than we used to be. It's not, the idea of man and the woman staying together forever and ever and ever, you know, and raising kids and everything. It's just it ain't what it used to be. That's not as promoted, I don't think to men or women. And so as a result, you don't have as big of families. If you're only kind of together for a little while, then it's gonna be hard to just make two, three, four, five, actual troop of kids and stuff like that. And your brother and sister does the same thing. Now they got cousins. Now they got. I'm not saying like be like the Duggars or like those TLC people with like a billion kids, but we definitely have more than we used to. And I think that really, I think we're the generation millennials and stuff that we don't see that as much anymore.
you
Yeah,
don't
we don't
see
see that
half
much
of it
anymore
anymore,
as
man. Like
opposed to my
things,
dad and
even like relationships, man. Like marriages. When was the last time you spoke to someone and said, "Oh, we've been together for 70 years,
um,
60 years"?
yeah, again, my granddad,
What's common now is like,
went before he
yeah, I've
passed.
been married twice. I have 3 kids with 2 different fathers, and I'm no longer in the household with them. I raise all the kids, and the fathers are not around. That's the
Yeah,
norm
and
now.
you know what? And the world is
Or
not helping because yo, man, don't you see advertised on benches, bro? Benches, billboards, divorce, 1-800 divorce. 1-800. You know, get rid of your spouse immediately. They will help you out to
why do
break
you
up your
think that? Do you
family
think
in
it's
this world.
because
Yeah.
I was even reading something on it. It's like, why do you think that is? Where the percentages of marriages succeeding are so like low, right? And I was reading something that says maybe because it's too many options
Boom.
nowadays.
That, you hit the nail on the head, and it's perceived options because now, yeah, like it's
Yes.
Again,
instant.
instant
You
gratification.
get
Before you
instant.
actually used to
Yeah,
holler at
yeah.
somebody, you would have to go up. If I wanted to talk to a girl, I really had to go up to her, and get along and interact.
Introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
introduce yourself.
Have a
Yeah, yeah.
conversation with
Or
somebody.
just get flat out rejected, or you'll know somebody not interested in. You can gauge the vibe. But now, again, because of social media, it is so distant. That whole being
It's
left
not
on
even.
red
It's not
thing
even
again. That
no.
whole again sliding in people's DMs. You're just filtering people out.
You're not even meeting people. You're
Not
just
even
looking at the
meeting
picture,
people, and that's
like
been people are becoming way more
without
comfortable with
saying a
that. People
word.
are becoming increasingly
Yeah.
comfortable with not meeting people. Every girl, I swear, it seems like again, I'm just put that out there, but the ladies I've talked to, man, I swear they all say they're introverts. I swear I haven't met an extroverted girl in so long. I've met so many ladies that do not want to be bothered with nobody, do not want people coming up to them, do not they would rather
See,
text than
like me,
talk.
like for instance,
Absolutely,
guys.
like they're not trying
See,
to be
even
bothered.
when I was younger,
Yeah.
it messed me up because like if okay, I'm just gonna be like how I thought it was like for me as a guy, I'm not no hot dude. I don't look
Too
like Brad
sexy
Pitt. I
for
don't
the
look like
shit.
those guys, right? But
I feel you.
so when girls just would look at my picture, I hate how I look in pictures anyway. It's
Well,
like
not
I know my
everybody's
chances are not as
photogenic. You
high
feel
as
me?
the next guy, right? Yeah. And I would always say, in my younger days, I'd be like, she might not like my picture, but if she hangs out with me, I guarantee you
Man,
she'll
yeah,
like
this is
it.
me, bro. You was yeah. He was out. You was
And it was
hollering.
like, and because it just wanted to have fun. It's
Yeah.
like just because I'm talking don't mean I'm trying to get in
Again,
your
we talk to
pants.
people for a living. Like I
And
said, we stole checking accounts in a grocery store, walking up to people, randomly talking to them.
sales,
That's
I just
literally
want to
what we
talk.
did.
I want to see what you're about. I want to see, just get to know you, see how you carry yourself, and just whatever. If
Trying to
it works,
socialize.
it
It's
works. If it
healthy.
doesn't, then cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. The worst is gonna happen is that I won't ever see you again, and I don't care. Like so. It's like, but growing up, that messed with my head because in my head, as a kid, I would see like, oh, this is how relationship works. This is how girls should look. La da da. And then when I would compare. I would end up comparing girls like to the girls I see on TV. It's like, oh, they don't look like that. They don't look like that. But then it's like, why am I doing that? Like it's not real, Like, but my mind, I was thinking that that's how it should be. So it's like, as a kid, I was really annoyed. I guess you could say, like, it's fake, it's real, it's fake. It's like,
And there you go. And again, just
give
to
me,
us as
yeah,
like kids, this is before on demand, before you can see all these different varieties of stuff. Like, so that's why I said when you say, "Hey, man, why is it kicking up so much?" Mental health and being out there, it's because again, stuff is more unstable than it's ever been. Relationships, expectations, foundations. Like we don't know what's the right way to proceed going forward. All that we do know and what we've been repeatedly told is that the old fashioned way is gone and it's we're progressing now. But that's those old fashioned ways kind of came with some stability, some assuredness, particularly for kids as you're going back trying to figure this stuff out when we're 14, 15, 16, you know.
just the lack of
Yeah,
stability.
again,
Why mental health is on the
I'm
rise.
trying to tell you, yes, because children, especially when you're developing, especially when you're younger, the more stable the household is, the better for the children. I think it's just everybody knows that, you know. I have a lot of sympathy, for people that have been through the foster care system, and things like that, because it's not just by definition not good, on the child's psyche, the sense of security. Because again, as I talked about earlier, when you're stressed, when you're in constant survival mode, you're ready set mode, you're always stressed. Yo, you can't grow. You can do the fight or flight thing. You can be defending yourself. You can be on alert, or you can be growing. You know, if your body's always tensed up, if it doesn't know what's coming next, then it can't. Yeah, then it can't grow. Then it can't heal itself. And what does a child need to do? It needs to grow. Especially in those early years. Their brain almost becomes fully developed or fully like sized. Just after a few years old. So if you don't have stability during those times, if you don't have structure, a sense of family, a sense of security, a sense of identity that you develop during that time, you know, it'll have a harmful effect. One of the resources my therapist pointed me to was a book by a guy named, well, just a guy, period, but his name is Dr. Gabor Mate, and he's a former medical doctor, and he wrote this book called "When the Body Says No: The Hidden Link Between Stress and body and illness." And it really goes into a lot of case studies and a lot of research about, again, the effects that certain traumatic experiences that people go through, particularly when they're younger. It's a predictor of other physical ailments they'll have going forward. They'll
Who's that by again?
Gabor Mate, it's Gabor, and then Mate, Mate, I believe. Yeah. Um,
It's another good one.
Yep, there you go, man. Resources, shout out to my therapist, man. He pointed me to some cool stuff. And this other, and Gabor Mate's book that pointed me to another guy, Dr. Bruce Lipton. I just finished his book, The Biology of Belief. And so again, those things can, now that I'm starting to understand again the development, and especially in the early childhood, years, and how crucial that is. Now I'm starting to see like, wow, this makes a whole lot of sense. Why all these things are popping up, why all this stress, because there's been so much change, and particularly again to the family, structure, and we ain't used to that as people. We ain't built for that actually. No, it's not actually. Yeah, particularly again when we're younger, but we carry what we learn from younger. We carry those traits and things that we use in survival mechanism and coping skills or lack thereof. We all develop that and carry that with us from children into adulthood. And and that's kind of our job as adults to kind of unpack that stuff that happened to us when we were younger, because it does have an effect. Again, rise of divorces, just that simple thing. Like a generation before us, like in the '80s, that whole no fault divorce thing. All of a sudden, man, divorce was just common, and everybody knows. I remember watching that intervention show, like the show used to come on A&E, Intervention, any show about addiction, any whatever it is, man. I swear, at least half of them, it always started with a divorce. My parents got divorced when I was this age, and da da da. I came from this, and they got divorced, and it's crazy. You can tell, like, so.
It's unfortunate because a
Yeah.
lot of it affects, people don't think it affects the kids when when you go through that. And it does, man. It might not be something big, but it turns into something big and it affects them daily. Mental health daily is something you should be taking care of every day. As much effort you put in your physical health, if you're, an athlete or whatever, put the same amount of energy into your mental. Same
Keep
energy.
that same
Right?
energy. There we go. I like that. Yeah, got to keep that same energy because it's a fight.
And
Yes, on a daily.
yeah, and and soon, guys, we'll be interviewing some licensed therapists coming up soon, and you guys could definitely tune in and check out to see and hear from an actual licensed therapist and see what they have to say and get to know them, and then if you enjoy what they have to say or enjoy just hearing them talk, you definitely check them out. We'll have all the information for you guys too. So I mean, and yeah. So I mean, that'll be. I think we got one
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up
we got one either
next week.
yeah
Yep.
coming up next episode, and we're excited about it because that's what we want to do. We want to be bringing some information, but collaboration and resources to those who are ready, who are seeking to take their mental health just to a better level. Whatever level you are at, hey, you just want to get it better. And so we actually really want to be reaching directly and making those relationships. Again, shout out to the again the .coms and the the commercials that are out there, and Michael Phelps and all these celebrities that are advocating for online therapy. I think it's great, and definitely want to be on that same mold. But we also want to actually really connect with somebody, put you somebody that you can tangibly look up and see, and make that more again personal connection. I think it helped me actually when reading my just the biography of my therapist. When I was choosing which one I wanted, gave me a couple options. When reading through the biography, um, immediately it just made me more comfortable with the idea of talking to him. I had something to talk about, some type of reference, and so as we bring on the professionals in the field to kind of tell their story and get to know them. We hope it'll encourage, you all because they are normal people. They're just
Reach
regular
out,
people, man. Just like you and me. And the
Yeah.
process
And
is actually, again, it's not scary. My slogan is, yeah, I went to therapy and nobody died. So, so yeah, we're looking forward for that coming up. Stay tuned for that.
definitely, definitely. And everyone knows that when you're looking for a therapist, it is pretty hard to find a therapist that fits you and your needs. So I know I went through several therapists and it just didn't click. Just wasn't feeling comfortable with talking about my issues with them for whatever reason. But it does take time to find, the right therapist. So definitely we'll have some resources here for everybody to take a dive into and take a look at it and see, which therapist will best suit your needs. So yeah, I just want to say again, thank you for everyone tuning in and checking out our podcast here, mental health every day. Make sure you take care of your mental as well as your physical. Put in the same energy that you do for both, and you should be all right, man. And if you guys have questions or want us to cover a topic or anything like that, feel free to let us know. We're trying to build this community. I know it's going to take some time, but it'll be
Hmm.
worth it in the end. So
Yeah,
thank you guys again.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's a great point you just brought up, Mino. Thanks so much for saying that, because everybody isn't for everybody. Just like the rest of life, therapy or any other type of counseling is not a one size fits all thing. And so, just like with other things in life, you may have to, try it more than once to get that right fit to find that other, right person that you can, really open up with and connect with. So, we just want to be here to be a resource for that because everybody's mental health journey is their own. But, you have to remember that you don't have to do it by yourself. Thanks again for joining us on this week's episode of the Consider Your Mind podcast. Please join us next week when we will have special guest Rupert Missick of First Light Counseling. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel and website at firstlightcounseling.com. See you next week.